Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be recreating this bustier fitted gown with yoke and a handkerchief sleeves. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing how to achieve a fitted yoke without gaping at the neckline, a more structured bustier, and how to finish off the neckline of the yoke if you're working with a fabric with a bit of stretch without the neckline slacking. So this tutorial will be in two parts and we are starting with the pattern drafting. So if you'd like to see how I achieve my result, keep watching. Do not forget to like and share the video, and let's get started. To get a fitted yoke that has no gaping at the neckline, the first thing to do is to contour your bodice. I'll quickly show you guys how to do this for those who do not know before we get into the tutorial proper. I've traced out my basic bodice on a fresh paper and have labeled it. This is my front chest line, my bust line, the bust point line, and the waistline. My bust point is 11 inches and my under bust level is 14.5 inches. So the difference between these two is my bust radius, and that is 3.5 inches. I will take these 3.5 inches round in a circle and connect the points. I'll eyeball the midpoint on the neckline and draw a line from the bust point to that point. This line becomes my contouring guideline. At the point where the line touches the circle, I will go out towards the center front by 1/2 inch. Then I'll draw a line from the bust point to the point on the circle and to the neckline. I'll slash open the waist dart and the contour guideline as well, but not through. I will close in the excess until the two circles touches and I'll tape it down. With my center front line extended upwards, I will take my neck width of 3 inches and the neck depth of 3 inches as well. In order to take the neck depth measurement correctly, I will replace the shoulder line so that it touches the tip of the neckline, and with my tape on that line, I will come down at 3 inches for my neck depth. I will square out this point. I will place my ruler on the shoulder line to square down the neck width just like you see in the video, and I will square out the neck depth as well and draw in my neckline. I will measure the shoulder width of the original bodice and replace it on the new one, and I'm taking this measurement from the new neckline, so I will extend my shoulder line to accommodate my measurement. I will also replace the front chest measurement, that's my armpit to armpit measurement. I will measure the distance between the shoulder slope point to the bust level on the original bodice and replace on the new one, and with these points I will draw in the armhole. I will go ahead and place the bust dart level from the original bodice to the new one. I will take my 1 inch dart and redraw the dart legs. This bust dart measurement is taken from the new armhole level. With the bust dart closed, I will redraw the side seam. With the bust dart of the original bodice closed, I will measure the length of the side seam and replace that on the new bodice. I'll go ahead and tape close the dart with a fresh paper so that we can reshape the waistline. So guys, I've done that. I'll close in the dart, redraw the waistline, cut out the pattern, and that's practically it. A detailed tutorial on this will be coming up soon, so stay tuned. Now back to the tutorial proper. For this tutorial, I'll be working with my front contoured bodice and the back bodice, and I've gone ahead and traced the front bodice on a fresh paper. From the bust point, I'm going to go around in a circle and mark the bust radius and the under bust level of my client. Her bust radius is 3.5 inches. I'm going to take that round in a circle. Then I will extend the line to mark her under bust level. The front half length I'm working with is 16 inches, but that on the bodice is 17 inches. So I'm taking away that extra 1 inch. You can see here that I have 16.5 inches. This extra half inch is for stomach ease. Now the depth of the yoke is 7.5 inches. I'm going to take this measurement by placing my tape on the bust point at 11 inches. And I'll mark the 7.5 inches yoke depth and square out the point. On this line, I'll place half of my bust span of 4 inches and connect it back to the dart line. I'll take ½ inch on both sides of this line for my dart intake. Then on the bust point, I will go up by ½ inch and come down by ½ inch as well and draw in the dart legs. From the armhole, I'll come down by ½ inch because our bodice is for a sleeveless dress, but we are making a dress with fitted sleeve, and I'll reshape the neckline of the yoke. On this line, I'll place 1/4 of my bust measurement plus ½ inch for ease. So with my tape from the center front to the first dart leg, which is 3.5 inches, I move it to the second dart leg and place 1/4 of my bust measurement plus ½ inch for ease. On the under bust level, I will take ½ inch on both sides of the dart legs and connect it back to the ½ inch we came down from the bust point. And on this line, I will place 1/4 of the under bust circumference. Please note that the darts are not included in these measurements. I will extend the dart legs of the under bust down to the waistline. On this line, I will place 1/4 of my waist measurement. Notice that I'm not including the darts in this measurement. With these points, I will draw in the shape of the bustier and the side seam. With my tape on the yoke line, I will mark the neck depth of 5 inches. I will square out the point. I will extend the center front line upwards and mark the neck width of 3.5 inches and draw in the neckline. On the chest line, I will place half of my client's front chest measurement and redraw the armhole. So guys, we're almost done with the front pattern. I'll go ahead and trace out the yoke line on a fresh paper. I have traced out the yoke on another paper. I'll go ahead and close in the dart. Reshape the neckline of the yoke and cut out the pattern. The bust dart here remains permanently closed, so you're going to close it, reshape the side seam of the bodice before cutting out the pattern. Now that we have our pieces cut out, I'm going to replace 9.5 inches 1/4 of the bust measurement on the yoke line and reshape the yoke. So guys, I've removed the 1 inch seam allowance from the yoke and replaced with 9.5 1/4 of our bust measurement. And when I match up these patterns on the yoke, you can see that they match up correctly. I've gone ahead and traced out the back pattern. On the armhole or bust level, I'll place 1/4 of the bust measurement minus the ½ inch we borrowed on the front bodice for bust ease. On the back chest level, I'll place half of my client's back chest measurement. On the neckline, I will mark the neck width of 3.5 inches and I will go down by ½ inch, making the back neck depth 1.5 inches, and I will draw in the neckline. I will measure the shoulder width of the front yoke and place the same measurement on the back shoulder, and with this point I will draw in the back armhole. The back half length is 16 inches while on the pattern is 17 inches, so I'll remove that extra 1 inch and square out that point. Then with my tape on the dart line, I will take ½ inch on both sides for my dart intake and draw in the dart legs. On this new line, I will place 1/4 of the waist measurement. Notice that the darts are not included in this measurement. Then I'm going to bring the side seam of the front bodice to ensure that I have the same side seam on the back. If you remember, on the front bodice we came down by ½ inch from the armhole. That ½ inch I'm going to take it from the waistline on the back bodice. You can as well do that from the back armhole. On the waistline of the center back, I will come in by ½ inch for zip bulk. I will blend it back into the line, add my 1 inch zipper allowance, my seam allowances, and cut out the pattern. I used my skirt block for the skirt part of this dress and I've extended it to the length of the dress. I'll walk you guys through on what I did. This is the waistline, the hip line, the knee line, and the hem of the full length of the dress. With my tape on the waistline at 16 inches, I marked the hip line. Her hip line is 29 inches, but I came up by ½ inch and marked 28.5 inches. Then the knee line is 38 inches, but I came up by ½ inch as well. Then 60 inches, the full length of the dress. This line here is the center front line. On the waistline, I place 1/4 of the waist measurement plus 1 inch dart. To mark the dart, I placed half of my bust span of 4 inches, which is the center line. Then I took ½ inch on both sides of the line for the dart intake. The length of the front dart is 5 inch and I drew in the dart legs. On the hip line, I placed 1/4 of the hip measurement. And on the knee line, I placed 1/4 of the knee measurement. I placed the same knee measurement at the hem of the dress and drew in the side seam of the skirt. I used the same pattern for the back panel, and this is what I did to modify it. On the hip line, I slashed it open to the side seam but not through. So here I'm just cutting off that excess paper so that we can easily spread it open without any obstruction. I'm going to spread it open by 0.75 inch because my client is moderately sized, and I'll tape it down. You can spread up to 1.5 to 2 inches depending on the height of the butt. When you do this technique by creating room for the butt, remember the room is for the height of the butt and not the wideness. Your dress is going to sit well and you will have that contoured effect. Once I'm done taping it down, I will connect back the lines, and on the waistline I will come in by ½ inch for zip bulk and blend it back to the hip line. On the knee line, I will come in by 0.75 inch. I will connect this point to the hip line with the curved side of my ruler and extend it to the hemline. I will replace this measurement on the knee line of the side seam and draw in the side seam of the back pattern. I've used the red marker to differentiate the back pattern from the front. I've also drawn in my 1-inch zipper allowance and the length of my back dart is 6 inches. In the sewing part of this tutorial, I will show you how to fold the pattern when cutting for your front and back panels. The length of the sleeve from the shoulder to where the handkerchief was joined is 20 inches plus 1 inch allowance. That is what I'm marking here. The cap height of the sleeve I used 4 inches plus ½ inch joining allowance. Then from shoulder to elbow is 13 inches. I will square out these points. On the armhole line, I'll place half of her upper arm measurement. On the elbow line, I'll place half of her elbow measurement, and on the band, I'll place half of her band measurement as well and connect these points. On the armhole line, I added 1½ inch seam allowance. On the elbow, I used 1 inch, and on the band, I added ½ inch seam allowance. I will connect these points. To shape the cap of my sleeve, I usually measure my front and back armhole measurements and use this to shape the cap of the sleeve, and that's exactly what I've done here. I'll go ahead and cut out the sleeve. My fabric here is folded into 4 and I folded with the longest length of my handkerchief. The full length of my sleeve is 25 inches, but the corners of my handkerchief will measure 29 inches. So the length of my handkerchief is 5 inches, but the corners will measure 9 inches. The band of my sleeve measured 9 inches. I will divide these 9 inches by 6.28, the constant for calculating the radius of a circle. Mine gave me 1.43, which I approximated to 1.5 inches. I'm going to take this 1.5 inches round in a semicircle and connect the points. To mark the length of the handkerchief, I'll add the 1½ inches to the length of my handkerchief plus 1 inch joining allowance. This gave me 7.5 inches. I'll mark these 7½ inches at the 4 corners as you see me doing and connect the points. So from the radius of the band to the 7½ inches line measured 6 inches, and this includes 1 inch joining allowance. At the center, you can see I have 9 inches here, and this includes 1 inch seam allowance, so I am in short of 1 inch. I will extend the line just like you see in the video. Place the 1 inch, reconnect to the sides and cut out the pattern. So guys, that's practically all there is to the pattern drafting of this dress. Do not forget to like and share the video and stay tuned for the sewing part. A bientôt!